Roadshow News Recap starts right now. It is all SEMA all the time as we highlight some of the coolest vehicles revealed in Las Vegas this week. Ford upfitted a classic F100 pickup with a Mustang Mach-E drivetrain, and it is seriously amazing. This rig showcases the automaker's new Eluminator crate motor. More on that coming up in just a minute. Toyota's Tacozilla concept is a retro-inspired camper truck complete with a 1970s graphics package. And if you are into overlanding, this story is definitely for you. We'll also cover a couple Jeep Wrangler concepts. There's an extended length model with 3 rows of seats, plus a 4xe variant loaded with all kinds of Jeep performance parts. Sean and I will talk about those vehicles, plus a whole lot more on Roadshow News Recap. But happy Friday, everyone, and Sean, as always, it's great to see you again.
Always good to see you, Craig. Happy Friday to everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Craig, how are you doing today? Just give us a couple words. You doing well?
I'm okay. The swelling's gone down, and the doctor says
Good.
I'll be ambulatory again in a day or two. So very
Fantastic.
happy about that.
Yeah, we're so good to hear. We're so glad to hear that. Good.
I'm glad my non-existent recovery is important to you. Anyway, thank you for watching Roadshow News Recap. Give us a like, give us a thumbs up, and maybe subscribe if you're feeling generous. But first story right out of the chute here today, this sweet 1978 Ford F100. Sean, why don't you kick things off? Tell the people what they need to know about this pickup.
Yeah, this pickup was a pretty cool surprise that Ford brought to Vegas this week for SEMA. It's the, what do you want to call it? The package that it's supposed to show off this new Eluminator crate motor, and that's a fun play on Eliminator if anyone isn't picking that up. But yeah, this is Ford's electric crate motor. Dropped it in this 1978 F100 to show it off. And anyone can buy these. And what Ford did here with this F100 is they did a twin motor setup. So they took 2 of these crate motors, and each makes 281 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque. And that also gives this F100 concept all-wheel drive now. So it's kind of like what do you want to call it? Like if a Mustang Mach-E turned into a classic pickup truck kind of thing, because this motor is based on the Mustang Mach-E. But yeah, it's really, really cool. I'm personally always a fan of concepts that take kind of like the resto mod kind of thing, where it's a vintage classic car, and then there's modern powertrains and performance elements to it. And we're starting to see more shops, companies, and even automakers play with, let's swap out an internal combustion engine and put something electric into this car. So I think it's a pretty cool truck they did here, Craig.
Oh, I agree. Those early year F100s or whatnot are just very cool looking. And of course, with the twin motors, you're getting 480 horsepower, 634 pound-feet of torque in a vehicle that's probably extremely light. So I imagine this thing accelerates quite well. It'd be very interesting to drive it. I don't know that Ford will let us. In fact, they probably won't. But if they're listening, I would love to do a few laps in this thing just to see what it's like. But it's an amazing combo of the old and the new, like you said, Sean. You get the style, that sort of that feeling of the old vehicles, and then you get the latest drivetrain that's available, which, as you just mentioned, you can actually go out and buy as an e-crate motor, and supposedly retails for about $3,900, which I guess isn't too bad a price for a new motor. The only concern I have is if you're going to build a hot rod and swap in an electric motor, you got to have room for a battery because you got to store energy somewhere. And they don't talk much about where that goes in this truck. I'm sure it's between the frame rails underneath the floor, but they were not that I saw anyway, very clear on what the energy storage situation was like. But very cool truck nonetheless.
Yeah, they didn't really mention anything about the battery. And while this is very, very cool, I'm really not sure, those, people who do this just in their own garage, like, pluck engines out and drop something in and do this stuff at home kind of thing. I'm like, I don't know if people have maybe the ability or the desire to make room for a battery pack if you're getting into like electric hot rods or something like that.
Hmm.
So I think that'll be interesting to see like where the hobby goes as more automakers introduce these kinds of options for people who want to build things at home. And you know
Hmm.
I mean, I suppose you could attach this and just electrify some other powertrain, so you don't need a gargantuan battery pack, maybe something smaller. But yeah, the
Hmm.
possibilities are
Well,
endless. But overall,
when
this
you
is really
when you
cool.
yeah, I was just gonna say when you think about it, if you're going to electrify your classic car, your hot rod, it's probably not something you're driving every day. So you
Hmm.
can probably get away with a lot less range, right? Like you take it to a car show, you're probably not going to be going more than 200 miles, I would imagine. Probably
Hmm.
not even 100 for most people. So a battery that provides 100 miles of range can be a lot smaller and cheaper than one that in like a Lucid Air that provides 500 plus miles of range. So
Yeah,
you got to evaluate the use case and see, but it might not be as big a hurdle as we think. But
that's true.
anyway, another important truck was unveiled at the SEMA show in Las Vegas, and it's from
Hmm.
Toyota. It's their new Tacozilla concept, which looks pretty sweet. It's got all of
Yeah.
the graphics you would expect for a vehicle from the 70s. Look at that thing. I mean, come on. That's amazing. And you guys know I'm not a huge fan of the Tacoma, but this is super cool. It's based on a Tacoma TRD Sport model. It has 17-inch wheels, a lifted suspension, and a mostly stock 3.5-liter V6. But they were trying to build something that was reminiscent of the campers that were offered in the 1970s and 80s. And I think they nailed it, at least the aesthetic of this thing, right? It's pretty modern inside, but man, it looks like it's from the 70s.
Yeah, the funny thing is that color palette on the side with those throwback graphics. Like, I think that those colors are kind of back in style now. Just like if you go walking through a furniture store, or, looking at knickknacks, it's like that kind of palette of colors is kind of back. So in a way, it
Hmm.
still looks modern, but yeah, the retro aesthetic definitely comes through. Toyota teased this previously, and they put a lot of work into making sure. I believe what they said they wanted to avoid was not building something that looks like there's just a refrigerator attached to the rear of a Tacoma. So there was a
Yeah.
lot of work that went into getting the angles correct, for the sleeping quarters, and making sure that there was a place to cook and sleep and a toilet, all in this little package. And yeah,
Wow.
I think this is just fantastic, super well done. This is the kind of stuff that, people who are big fans of SEMA, and even if you're just kind of like a casual fan of this kind of stuff, like this is the kind of really cool stuff that you want to see at SEMA. So I say hats off to Toyota, because this one, I think, was a star of the show for me.
Hmm. No, it looks amazing. And according to Toyota, it took them, well, they really put a lot of effort into this concept. It took them supposedly 100 hours just to design the back door because they wanted everything to fit properly and look good. And I mean, 100 hours is 2 weeks worth of work, normal work weeks.
Hmm.
And that's just, it shows they didn't just cobble this thing together out of leftover parts or stuff they ordered out of the TRD catalog, right?
Hmm.
So no
Yeah.
no word if this will be offered for sale. I suspect it won't, but it's still pretty sweet, and especially the work that they did because it looks amazing.
Yeah, maybe they could do like a limited run, like we'll build 100 of them or something like that. Maybe at that
They could
point,
they could
you
charge a
could.
fortune
Sorry, go
too.
ahead.
I was
Oh
gonna say
yeah,
even if they
that's
built
what
a
I.
hundred, they could charge a fortune.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just going to get at. Was you could build 100 of these and still probably make a profit. I think.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, so that is the Toyota Tacozilla, arguably the coolest concept from the SEMA show, but we got a lot more to cover, including the Chevy Beast, which, if not
Yes.
cooler overall, is certainly more powerful than that Toyota.
Oh yeah, this thing we have a separate video if you guys want to check it out on the Beast because we thought this one was really really cool when it first debuted for SEMA. I think it's like a freaking warthog for Halo and Master Chief. This whole aesthetic about it is really really cool. Um, and what might be cooler is the fact that it has a C7 Corvette Z06 engine that powers it, which is like so
Wow.
out of lockstep with what GM's trying to do with electrification, battery electric. So it's just like, whoa, like you guys came with a Corvette powered off road SUV. Like, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah, totally.
But so
But
this
yeah,
it's called
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's called the Beast, and this thing, if you can't tell based on the pictures, it's designed for that high-speed desert off-roading, kind of like a Ford Raptor or something. But this looks even more extreme.
Oh yeah, totally. 37-inch tires, a 91-inch wide track. It's got a conceptual long travel suspension. And the cool thing is that they took a Silverado chassis and shortened it, and then they also built this crazy lightweight body that wrapped around it and gave us what we see here. Slapped some Recaro seats in there for 4 people. I mean, I cannot imagine blasting around in the sand with 650 horsepower in this thing that they didn't give a curb weight, but I can't imagine it's insanely heavy. I just
No.
I think it's really really cool. But there is just no chance in hell that GM or Chevy will build anything like this.
Well, Ford's gonna offer what is it? What is it called? The Bronco
Desert
R,
Runner.
the Bronco. Yes, Desert Runner. So if Ford's doing that, why couldn't GM do this? Will they? Probably not, but why couldn't they? It's a
Yeah,
way to print
yeah.
money.
I really think this is a little off track of the show today, but I find it a little strange that GM, specifically Chevy, really hasn't, at least and not anything we've really heard, they haven't really tried to answer to a lot of Ford and Ram's off-road stuff. Like we just now have, the updates to the Silverado, which introduced a more off-road ready thing, but nothing really like the top level of the Raptor or the TRX from Ram. Um, not a peep about Chevy building something like the Bronco, but I guess GM is doing the GMC Hummer, so that's going to be an off-road beast, but also it's going to cost like 6 figures. So it's nowhere near like Bronco levels of affordability. But yeah, I just think that's kind of interesting just because the whole off-road segment is exploding. And I mean, you got Colorado and Silverado, but
But none
yeah,
of them
and
are
then
are Raptor or T-Rex level. Like the
correct, yeah.
off-road trims for those trucks are capable, certainly, but nothing as
Hmm.
extreme as the competitors. Which is funny. It's like GM is leaving money on the table because with the T-Rex or a Raptor, I'm sure it's huge profit for Ram and Ford to offer these
Hmm.
trim levels because they can charge a fortune for them. So why isn't
Yeah.
GM doing that? Why isn't the Blazer? Why wasn't that resurrected as like a Bronco competitor? Like that seems like the biggest no-brainer of all, but instead it's a sort of fashionable crossover like a Murano or a Ford Edge or something. That's not
Hmm.
what a Blazer should be. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think the Blazer is a nice crossover SUV, but yeah, it ever since the start of the Blazer coming back when we knew what it was going to be, it was kind of like really, kind of thing. Same thing with the Trailblazer. That's a little subcompact crossover SUV now, but yeah, I just think, like you said, a no brainer to slap a LT engine into a Silverado and say, here's our Raptor TRX fighter. Like that engine has
Yeah.
probably paid for itself a gajillion times over. So just build some more of them and put them in the truck.
Yep. Just do it. Just do it. Yeah,
Just do it.
650 horsepower, 10-speed automatic. and undoubtedly insane off-road capability from the Chevy Beast. But lots more to talk about in today's show. But before we get to that, I wanted to invite you to check out some other videos that are on the Roadshow News YouTube channel. We've got one about Tesla. The Elon Musk's automaker is opening some of its superchargers to other EVs. So make sure you give that a watch. Also, check out last week's show where we talked about another, how should I put this, over-caffeinated Chevrolet, the Corvette Z06. If you haven't seen that show, give it a watch. I highly recommend it. It's got two great hosts, very good guys, and very informative as well. So give those a look-see. They're good people. Yes. But not to be outdone. So we've covered Chevrolet and we've covered Ford already, but Jeep had a couple concepts at SEMA, didn't they, Sean?
They sure did. Yeah. And two of them we wanted to highlight specifically. The Overlook concept, first up, is a Wrangler that they extended into a 3-row kind of like Sahara machine rig, kind of thing. It's extended 12 inches and has 5 inches more roof for more headroom and a removable top for special safari windows, kind of like a Land Rover. This thing's pretty cool. This one definitely caught my attention from the stuff that Jeep brought. Really love the color palette they've used here. The brown and bronze, it definitely has that, kind of safari feel to it. I think this one is really cool. And, I don't know if there's actually a market for a 3-row Wrangler, but I mean, that in itself, I still think is kind of cool. Like just pack more people in and go blasting off road kind of thing, Craig.
Well, I forget the exact number, but the overwhelming majority of Wranglers sold are the 4-door unlimited version. And when they first came out with that, people were screaming and pissing and moaning that a 4-door isn't a Wrangler. Well, guess what? Everybody wants that one because they can put their kids in the back. So it's not inconceivable that a 3-row model would sell pretty well. But do they really need another 3-row SUV in their lineup? Because they've got the Wagoneers, they've got, of course, the Grand Cherokee L, and I don't know if a 3-row Wrangler would even be necessary. But you know what? What the hell? People would probably buy it. Would you buy it, Sean?
No. It's not for me, but I feel like there would be a group of people that would be intrigued by that. Who knows what kind of the business case or the marketing profile you'd put together for it, but no, it's not for me, Craig.
Yeah, I know you're a Honda guy, so your S2000 is about the polar opposite of a Wrangler. So
yeah,
although an S2000 with live axles would be hilarious, I don't know how that would work.
The S2000 is 2 rows short of a Wrangler Safari concept shown at SEMA. So
yeah. But yes, obviously super capable, extended body, 2-inch suspension lift, 37-inch tires. So you can bring the whole family and climb Mount Kilimanjaro at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, what more do you want, really? Like, get out there and go do something, guys, and take this with you.
This one-off concept that you can't buy.
Yeah, exactly. But there's also the Jeep Wrangler 4xe. Is it 4xe or 4xe, Craig? Do you actually know?
It's by E. And I don't know.
Is it by E?
Every time I see the logo, it's 4xe. Every time I see that name, the E needs to be capitalized. The E should not be lowercase. I hate that they have it lowercase. It's just, it doesn't look right.
Well, okay, get off your soapbox now. We're moving on. I'm just kidding. But yes, this was the other one of the other very cool concepts that Jeep brought to SEMA, and it's really just kind of like a shotgun blast of Jeep performance parts that the fine folks at Jeep decided to attach to this thing. It rolls on beadlock capable wheels, 37-inch BF Goodrich tires, and it's got a custom underbody with rock lights that illuminate the ground so you can see obstacles at the corners while you're out there on the trail or wherever you are. So that's pretty cool and nifty and not something I would have ever thought of A stamped steel bumper with lights, tube doors, reinforced swing gate, and a Gorilla Glass windshield that is up to 3 times stronger than a stock windshield you'd find on a standard Wrangler. So this is really just like someone at Jeep was just like dumping the Jeep parts catalog on a Wrangler, and they're just like, what stuck on it? But but you know what? It's really cool and cohesive. I think
it looks great.
it's very, yeah, totally.
It shows the breadth and the depth of what they offer, what Jeep offers from their accessories catalog. So even if you don't buy all of these things and put them on your Wrangler, there's still plenty of stuff here that you can spruce things up with if you want. I love those tube doors too. I think those look really cool on here.
There's a Jeep performance part for everybody.
Yes, there is. It's democracy in action, right? It's a part everyone can afford. They've also fitted it with a blue cat skin. That's not cat skin, it's cat skin, which does a bunch of custom interiors. So basically, you can go to their site and punch in what you're making, model, and you can sort of customize new seat covers and door panels and stuff, which is pretty cool. But they've got that highlighted here as well, which is just a way of sprucing things up, because that blue really pops with the is it a white or is it a light gray paint job? I can't tell.
To me, it looks white. Yeah.
So yeah, great looking Jeep concept. Lots of accessories you can get for the Wrangler, and that's just a taste of some of them on the 4xe model. Next up, a truck concept, another one from Ford. This is the Ford Maverick Tucci concept. I think I'm saying that right. It's built by Tucci Hot Rods, and it's sort of, could this be initiating another mini truck fad? I mean, this looks pretty cool the way they've updated it. Lots of accessories on this thing. The Maverick, obviously, it just came out and it's making waves. It's had very popular, very positive reviews. I get one this week. I'm super excited to check it out.
Nice.
But yeah. So that should be pretty neat. Do you think we might be seeing a new mini truck revival, Sean?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I think that may fall into, again, I keep going back, and I'm not even trying to plug this, but because I still think it's such an interesting topic, is when I had a special discussion with reviews editor John Wong. You can find that on the channel, Roadshow News channel, about the tuner scene went away, off-roading took over. And it's like we don't have a crystal ball, so we don't know where the aftermarket's going to latch onto next. Like, it's not going to be off-road forever. Like, maybe that will still remain a larger slice of things, but something is going to come along and change it. And this could be evidence that the aftermarket may start going somewhere else with, the Maverick, because the Maverick is a unibody truck. It's not going to ever do things like a Ranger or an F-150 can. So you take it into a different direction. And this is one direction it could go. And it's funny because this would honestly swing closer to the tuner scene again.
Yes, absolutely. It's interesting you say the Maverick will never do things that a Ranger and an F-150 can or could. And you're absolutely right. But the Maverick also does things those trucks never could, like 40 plus miles per gallon. And, being able to get parallel parked downtown because it's so much smaller than at least a full-size F-150. But yeah, so this is based on the Maverick XLT trim, which is the mid-range model, and it's got the 2-liter EcoBoost engine and all-wheel drive. They've slammed it to the ground, as you can see. They've got coilovers on it. And they have loaded it with 3D printed parts, from the fender flares, the overbed spoiler, the chin splitter. It's all been done through the additive manufacturing process, aka 3D printing. To boost performance, they've added a Borla catback exhaust, a name I haven't thought of or heard of for probably 10 years, but Borla is still out there. They've got stickier tires to enhance the performance as well, and those wheels look so cool. They call them a turbofan, I guess a turbofan-like wheel, and I've never seen anything like that, but I love them.
Yeah, they're really cool. Yeah, I've seen some similar designs to that. I think that's a little bit more of a recent trend for people who still shop aftermarket wheels. But yeah, this is a super great looking concept as well. And like you said, is it gonna, you know, because here's what companies do for SEMA, and it's kind of like testing the waters, you know, where if it's an automaker or if it's an aftermarket company, not only do they bring their new products for people to see because this is a trade show at the end of the day, they also bring things that perhaps somebody in the C-suite is looking to gauge public feedback on to see like how is this received. So if people are just like, oh man, this concept's awesome the way it presents itself with this feature and that feature, but I don't like this, then something may actually come to production for people to buy. Or Ford could even look at that and be like, look at the kinds of look at the audience this is attracting, and maybe we
Hmm.
should support the Maverick in this way too, and offer more like street performance or street style upgrades alongside off-road stuff, or making a more rugged Maverick. So I just think in general the Maverick is a cool vehicle because it kind of resets things for truck people.
It does.
And
Yes.
I stand I really stand by the fact that I think the Maverick does that better than the Hyundai Santa Cruz will or
Yes.
was ever going to before the Maverick showed up.
Hmm. Yeah. It's interesting. We've gone all these years without any compact trucks, and suddenly two are basically launching on top of each other. It's funny how that
Yeah.
works out. But yeah, the Santa Cruz is very much more a premium vehicle, I would say. Much more avant-garde styling. The interior looks to be
Hmm.
a lot nicer than what you get in the Maverick. But on the other hand, the Maverick is much more, traditional, much more truck-like, and it's cheerfully cheap, right? It's very affordably priced, and yeah, the interior has a lot of hard plastic, but Ford was creative in how they utilized that. They made it look nice, right? It's
Yep.
interesting. There are different colors and contrasts and different finishes and things. So they knew they didn't have a lot of money to spend on the interior, but they used every penny they could, and turned out a very nice product. Is it as nice as what you get in the Hyundai? Probably not, but it's interesting. It's unique, and like you said, Sean, it kind of hits the reset button. So
Yeah.
be interesting
I,
to see what
I
happens here.
Absolutely. It'll be a really fun thing to watch in the months and years to come to see if others try to respond to this or if they let Ford and Hyundai play by themselves. So yeah, just everything about this truck, you know, even from the aftermarket support and seeing this kind of concept is just so intriguing to watch and see how the story unfolds.
Yeah, because Ford doesn't offer small cars anymore, so this is their small car offering, right? This is
Mhm.
their
This is
focus,
the new
or
focus.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, basically. So it will be interesting, and based on pre-orders from what we've seen, people are all over the Maverick. Like the hybrid model is sold out until like the middle of next year. They can't build enough of them based on orders they've
Mhm.
already had. So um, it's a real sleeper success for Ford, and I'm sure this will outsell the Santa Cruz by a factor of 10 to 1. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not even going to be a contest. Nothing that Not that there's anything wrong with the Hyundai. It's just that people equate trucks to American automakers and especially to Ford.
I think, and this is the last thing I'll say on this topic because I know it's a little off topic for our show. I think the Maverick utterly rained on the Hyundai Santa Cruz's parade because,
Oh yeah.
you know, the Maverick was still like we don't really know what it's going to be. Like we hadn't seen spy shots, didn't really know much about it yet, but we just kind of heard that Ford had a small truck coming. But we'd already learned a lot about the Santa Cruz, and I mean, there was a lot of hype around the Santa Cruz. Like people were like, "Oh man, finally a new small truck!" And I feel like the Maverick showed up, and everyone's like, "Just kidding, this is the one we want."
Yeah, right. Even though it
Yeah, like
may not be as good, that's the one everybody wants.
yeah, yeah. They were just like, "We want a new small truck," and then when they're like, "Oh, there's a choice," yeah, we know which one we actually want.
Yeah,
But if there wasn't a choice, then yeah, Hyundai, you knocked it out of the park. But again,
yeah,
at the end of the day, I think they're going to appeal to totally different kinds of buyers looking at a small front wheel drive unibody pickup. And that's my
yeah,
last statement on that.
yeah. Ford took a dump in Hyundai's bag of peaches. Just what ended up happening. I don't.
Happy
You can use that
Friday.
metaphor if you want. Yeah, right. On that note, I think we are just about done with the show this week. Lots of great stuff coming out of SEMA. But Sean, we've got other stories people need to talk about, need to see. What are they? What
Yes,
broke news?
as
What big news
always.
happened this week?
Well, as always, you'll find all of it on theroadshow.com. We have a hands-on with the new Forza Horizon 5 video game. Antoine Goodwin spent some time with that. So if you're interested in some video games, we got something over there. You can read his impressions of the game that just came out this week. Volkswagen pushed a teaser out of its new bus coming, the electric bus that we've seen like 18 concepts for, and we've been hearing about for like 6 years. And they're almost ready to start building it. And they gave us another photo of it camouflaged. So that was very exciting. But no, I'm just kind of being in jest there. But no, that's very exciting. So we'll see that. And all sorts of other stuff that you can see from SEMA. There was other concepts we just couldn't talk about today. We didn't have time for. So check it all out and more at theroadshow.com.
Yes, thank you so much. And on that note, I think we are done here. Sean, thank you so much for your co-hosting and your help putting the rundown together as always. So thank you, my friend.
It's my pleasure, Craig. I'm here to help. I'm so glad that you exist and help us do this show.
You're overselling it now, but thank you. I appreciate it. And of course, thank you to Evan Miller, the man behind the scenes, running the switching, doing the videos, doing all the high-tech stuff that, let's be honest, Sean and I have no idea how it works. So that's what we got Evan for. Thank you, Evan. And of course, thank you all for watching Roadshow News Recap, where we dissect and discuss the most important automotive-related stories of the past week. And on that note, thank you again, and y'all have a great weekend.